Welcome to the SBCA podcast, Component Connection, looking at how businesses around the country are innovating to take advantage of opportunities in the construction supply chain. Now, here's your host, Sean Shields.
Welcome, everyone. On today's podcast, brought to you by the Structural Building Components Association, we are going to talk about software development. SBCA has recently brought its digital QC program online and made it available to all members for free. The successful release of this valuable software would not have been possible without the knowledge and expertise of Q4US, a software development company headquartered in Finland. Today, we're joined by Sandun Desanayaka, co-founder and CEO of Q4US, and Jess Lose, Executive Director of SBCA. They're going to provide some insight into digital QC's functionality and what it took to create it. Sandun and Jess, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. This is awesome. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, Jess, let's start with you. You inherited a digital QC program in the alpha stage, and you faced the challenge of turning it into a software program that could be relied upon by the masses. How did you come to choose Q4US as a partner to get that done?
That is a great story. There's a ton that went into it. Obviously, we had a very capable, very well thought out working prototype with a lot of proprietary information, a lot of knowledge that had been gained. And, we had that written in a version or a programming language called MATLAB. And when I was reaching out to a variety of different software development teams, as soon as I said those two words, MATLAB, together, they either hung up the phone, laughed at me, or promptly dismissed me and said, we'll talk to you later, which I knew they would not. So finding a firm that was able to embrace that programming language was the first chore. And, it was one of those things where connections, we always talk about making connections in this industry. And it was one of our connections through Ben Hershey. He knew of Q4US and he pointed me in the right direction. So I had a lot of conversations with Ben. He said, I know of this team. They know the truss industry. I think they'd be able to help you out. And that's really how the introduction happened. Started talking with Sandun from there, and, the magic happened from that.
So it was one of those where you were playing Cinderella. You had this glass slipper and you had to find the person it fit. And fortunately you found that, right?
Yeah, I make a great Cinderella, don't I?
You're the prince, Jess. You're the prince of the story.
Oh, okay. All right. I forget that story, but wherever I'm at with it. And it was one of those, just trying to find the right fit. And, it's one of those, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And it happened. And I couldn't imagine a better team despite all the challenges up front. It was one of those that was a great experience from the word go. And it turned into a great product, and I'm very proud of it.
So Sandun, you're the Cinderella of this story. So you were given this alpha version of the program, the glass slipper, as it were, but you ultimately had to build the current program from scratch. Can you explain the benefit of first having that alpha program, the glass slipper, to work from, but how you went about developing an entirely new piece of software from it?
Conducting pre-study is part of our usual project approach. So that helps us, give us a good understanding about what is available and also at the same time what is not available. So in this case, actually, we just gave us this code base and associated documents, and we had long discussions. So we studied the existing code base and we played around with the existing software. So it allows us to set up a base for initial discussion. So it gives us understanding, okay, this piece of software should be functioned as like this. But that was not enough. So we had many rounds of discussions, not only to understand the technical requirement, but also to understand the business requirements of Jess and team. So one thing we immediately realized was that the technology used in the existing version was not suitable for the purpose, because it was a tablet-based software. It should be responsive, it should be lightweight, and especially it should be user-friendly. Your users should be able to use it without much hassle. So when the discussion started, we little by little we understand the business needs, and we can figure out the main requirements. So I think this process works pretty well. So we managed to build a new software that pleases all the parties involved, ourselves, SBCA, and as well as the users. So we incorporate many new features that were not available in the previous version, and we can see now. I think Jeff will vouch for that. The new version is very responsive and easy to use.
So, Sandun, in that process of sort of gathering from SBCA and its members, what do you want the software to do? How do you want it to function? I'd assume that you had a lot of back and forth meetings over a course of months, right?
Yes, quite many, actually.
Okay, so putting this together, I mean, it was very much a collaborative process. I'm sort of curious then, do you have any examples, both you and Jess, that you can provide of like how you went about identifying a functionality that you wanted to have in the software, and then how you and your team, Sandun, went about incorporating, developing that? I would imagine that sometimes the answer has to be like, you can't get there from here, or you can't get there from here right now, or absolutely yes, we can add that in tomorrow, kind of thing. Can you walk me through any of those examples?
Definitely. Jess, do you want to go first with this famous notes example?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. And that was one of the big needs or big asks from the users of the software, was to be able to write notes into the inspection data to accompany, whatever is going on with that truss when it's being inspected. The users wanted to be able to explain and to say, hey, this is what happened. This is how we corrected it. And how the server side of the code was initially written, it didn't allow for that to happen. So we looked at a couple different options. Is like, okay, do we go in and start editing the server side in the middle of the tablet development and try to implement something there? Or do we do something a little bit different? And that's where Q4US came up with the idea of, we can store it locally and produce it on the local reports that are generated, which is, getting the need accomplished for a short-term amount of time. And then when it was time to adjust or to redesign the server side, they were able to write it in then. So they kind of had the best of both worlds, where they got a quick workaround or a fix that met the needs of the users, to where they could continue performing inspections with the different versions of the software as it's in its progression, but then also have a long-term need to where, we will have this solved at the right time. And that was a nice way to have both worlds, kind of meet in the middle there. And that was really good example of kind of the problem solving and the strategic thinking that they have throughout the development cycle.
What strikes me, Jess, too, the benefit is that you didn't have to go backwards in order to move forward, right? You could continue moving forward in the direction you're going, just knowing that you could address it a different way downstream, right?
Yeah, it allowed the team to focus on what was at hand, which was the tablet side code, which was, what the users were experiencing, where they were having issues, and why the, redevelopment was happening in the whole. Is, once you kind of lose your focus or lose your scope, it's very hard to regain it. So it was nice to maintain the focus on the tablet side and not get into the server side stuff at that point. We were able to put that off, have a solution, and then come back to it when the time was right.
So Sandun, I'm curious if you can provide a little bit more context to that, because I'm sure there was a lot of, like a duck on the water, there's a lot of furious paddling underneath the water. When Jess comes and says, okay, I want you to incorporate this functionality, and immediately, well, the software's not written to do it that way. When you're problem solving like that as a team, what's going on behind the scenes? What kind of discussions are you guys having?
Yeah, sure. So we are primarily position ourselves as a solution providers, not just a software developers. So we have very talented solution architects and senior developers. So they come together, it's always, while it's similar to working with our client and the team, we are also working as a team. Whenever we have this kind of problem, we take all the people involved and we try to brainstorm. So what is the solution we can provide? It might not be the straightforward solution, but we say, that's why I initially said we have to always understand the business needs of our client, and we try to understand it. Because if the function is very important for our client, so we should try to provide it. So in this case also, we came together and we discussed and we noted that, okay, in order to achieve this function, we have to manipulate the server now. So this is not the time to work with that, because that server was not in position that we can simply alter that path. So what we decided was, okay, let's provide the temporary solution that users can achieve the functionality and they will be familiar with the thing. So under the hood, we can later on, we can change it to move it to the server and have the desired functionality. So it worked pretty well. I think we managed to maintain the continuation. So that was I should give credit to my team and came up with this kind of solution. So this is usual pattern of the development. We do this almost every day.
Sandhu, from your perspective, any other instances where there was some functionality that you had to work in once Jess or the team requested it?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things come to my mind. So one thing is actually maybe didn't directly come from Jess and the team, but one thing is this primarily in the first version, these controls such as this zooming, rotating, they have made button-based controls. So you have to press the button to get those functionalities. So we thought actually it is really nice to have gesture-based controls. So we went to Jess and talked with him, and they also agreed that it's so nice to have, when you rotate or zoom or anything. So just rather than pressing a button, it might be good to use fingers and do that in the gesture-based control. So we managed to implement that. And actually there were discussions how to achieve that, how to make it smooth and all of these. And it's something that worked really well. In addition, another thing was that, initial digital QC version was restricted to Windows tablets only. So we actually had this idea while we are discussing with Just and the team. We can make it cross-platform with the technology we use with a minimal effort. We use more or less the same code base, and we make it work in the iPad. So because that was, I think, quite important because there are many places iPad are quite common. So and also Google Android-based tablets. So we managed to actually achieve that. And now Digital QC is available both in Google Play Store as well as Apple App Store. So those things that we are collaboratively achieve those targets, and we are very proud of that.
So Sandhu, I get the sense that, when we talk about software development in our industry, that's sort of inexplicably tied to really data management at the end of the day. And now that you have the digital QC software development under your belt, I'm curious, what other types of software solutions you feel your team can help the component manufacturing and building products industry out with?
Sean, I think you are on the spot. So data is very important in any business, but especially in this business. I think it's quite playing very important role. So if we take ourselves, we bring the main thing that we bring into the industry is our domain knowledge. So I think we are in a unique position with our expertise in software development, as well as the extensive knowledge about the component manufacturing and building industry. I think it's okay to say teams like us are hard to find. So, but not only that, we are also position ourselves as a transparent and always online and responsible development team. So what I meant was like, whatever we develop, we will give access to our clients so they can see it always. And the code base and everything is always online. And whoever builds that feature, they will come in front of our client and they will present that to the client. So our team has been working in software development, component manufacturing, and building industry now for close to 4 years. So our team knows the language you speak. So, they already understand the bits and pieces. So it gives us opportunity to bring various solutions to our clients. For example, modernize the existing systems, build new solutions to combine business and manufacturing solutions, and we can make new solution out of data. So our team is very good at working with data and especially working with low latency systems, optimization, and those kind of things. For your question, the answer is we can work with as I mentioned, we are solution providers. So we are very happy to work with our clients and find out solutions to their problems. Sometimes, of course, that might be beyond our expertise. In that case, we will simply say, okay, this is not inside our capabilities. But most of the time, we work together with our client and we find a solution to their problem. We bring solutions to the industry together with the domain knowledge.
Listen, dude, I think that you hit the nail on the head when you pointed out that to find a software development company that understands our industry well is a very rare find. As Jess pointed out at the beginning, you were his, well, I said it, you were his Cinderella, right? There's only one. So, I think a good place to conclude here is just the point that if anybody's looking for that kind of solution, Jess has done the hard work. He's found you. So now it's an opportunity for others to take advantage of that. Well, Jess and Sandune, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks a lot, Sean, for inviting us. So it's a great time. We had a great time with you.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sandune.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please give this podcast a favorable rating and share it with others. Also, consider subscribing to SBCA's Component Connection podcast on whatever platform you use most. That way, you'll immediately know when we publish our next podcast.
This has been a Component Connection podcast brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, send it to podcast@sbcacomponents.com.